Hey guys, it's Chloe. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you've been keeping up with the channel, you may know that I recently purchased a new 2024 Tacoma. So if you want to check that video, I'll have it linked down below. But basically, I paid $58,700 out the door for that truck. And a lot of you guys had the question, if you're going to spend that much money, why not get in a 2024 Land Cruiser instead? And this is a good point. These are two redesigned Toyota vehicles in the US for the 2024 year. And unlike previous years where a Tacoma might top out at a price range of around $50,000 and a Land Cruiser 200 series might start, yes, I said start, in the high $70,000, they both now fall into very similar territory. Well, more accurately, they have price overlaps in certain trims. So once the stars aligned and I was finally ready to purchase a new truck or SUV as my off-roader, with the upper end of my budget being in the mid-50s, I was excited that a Land Cruiser was a real possibility. But I ultimately picked the Tacoma, which, understandably so, confused a lot of my viewers. So in this video, I want to share the 3 reasons I made that decision. I want to be clear. These are 3 of my own reasons, although I am curious to see if other people agree or disagree, so please definitely leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I also want to mention that a lot of the footage you'll see in this video is from a different setting than you're probably used to seeing me in, Colorado. A bit far from my hometown of San Diego, and I unfortunately, for that reason, did not bring my own vehicle on this trip, but there are some really interesting vehicles you'll be seeing, all provided by Toyota. That being said, Toyota is not paying me for this video, nor are they paying for me to say anything specific. This is an opportunity for me to share my full and honest opinion with you guys, like always. You might also recognize my friend Kevin here from the Lifestyle Overland YouTube channel. He was my driving partner, and if you're not familiar with his videos, he makes great content of exploring and overlanding in his Toyotas with his family too, which is awesome. So with that, let's get into reason number 1, features. One of the things I like most about a Toyota truck or SUV is its off-road capability out of the box. Sure, many people will buy these vehicles with the intent of just having a nice vehicle to commute in or to use for projects or maybe work, but after traveling all over the country, you start to realize the off-road and overlanding community is much bigger than your own region or bubble. Even here on YouTube, I sometimes cannot believe the size of my channel since it's kind of a niche, but I'm grateful there are so many people who enjoy the same hobbies as I do. Anyways, on this Colorado trip, there are a variety of both new Tacomas and Land Cruisers, and while it was sweet sitting behind the wheel of some of the top trims like a Tacoma Trailhunter and TRD Pro and Land Cruiser First Edition, I was actually more interested in the lower trims like the Land Cruiser 1958 and Tacoma TRD Off-Road. I think these are 2 vehicles that we'll probably see more of on the road than the unicorn trims. And these happen to be the exact 2 vehicles that fell into the price range I was considering as well. So let's take a closer, direct side-by-side look comparing what you get for the similar sticker price of each. I don't have my truck with me, but the next best thing is I have basically the exact same built Tacoma parked next to this 1958, a 2024 Tacoma TRD Off-Road that's optioned out with the exact same things that my own 2024 Tacoma has. All right, so let's start out by opening up the glove box of this 1958 Land Cruiser, because we actually have the sticker in here that I want to show you guys. So here it is. Now this one, total suggested retail price is $60,790. MSRP is $59,395. But you could see the base price over here of this Land Cruiser is $55,950. Pretty comparable to, I guess, the sticker on this Tacoma with how it's optioned out and everything. But there were a lot of different accessories added on to this Land Cruiser since we were taking it off-road, doing a lot of fun stuff with it, getting it a little bit dirty. So some of those accessories include a ball mount, the carpet cargo mat, which I will show you in the back. Just this little liner thing over here, although they have a rubberized one that you can also buy. But here's some of the more interesting off-road stuff. Rock rails, which are rock sliders, definitely very useful. Can also double as a step sometimes. A roof rack, so this is an OEM Toyota roof rack. Same with these rock rails. And a couple of skid plates. You can see we've got a transmission skid plate and a front skid plate. So here's the front skid plate that was added on as an option. And then if we take a look at the Tacoma over here, you can see this one has a total suggested retail price of $54,829. Its base MSRP is $42,900, but really what is adding to that price is the $8,800 TRD Off-Road Premium Package and the stabilizer bar disconnect. There are a couple more add-ons like the bed mat, tailgate inserts, ball mounts, and mini tie downs, but for the most part, yes, these two vehicles aren't exactly the same price sticker wise. They're a couple $1,000s off, but all the add-ons on the Land Cruiser are things you could add after the fact. So if you took those things off, it's pretty comparable to a TRD Off-Road that's built in with the premium package, because the premium package with like the soft tech seats and everything, that's not something you can like take on or add on after the fact. I hope I'm not stretching here, and to an extent realize that this is a multivariable equation, but factoring out the bolt-on accessories and factoring in the more built-in accessories, I'd say you're paying a very, very similar price when looking at these two. What you get on this Tacoma versus the Land Cruiser, though, can be considered significantly more. So if I were considering a 1958 Land Cruiser, what I'd be getting are these cloth seats. Now, I do think these are kind of a step up from a lot of standard cloth seats you'd see in other vehicles, like in my 2019 Tacoma, because you can see that they're kind of textured, they look a little bit tougher, they're more ruggedized, which is great because obviously I would be using a vehicle, and I think a lot of people would be using a vehicle like this as a trail rig, but front and second row seats are going to be cloth at this price point. And as I pan up, you can see no moonroof in the base model. A moonroof is available in some of the other grades of Land Cruiser, like in the Land Cruiser First Edition, but in the base model, you're not going to find creature comforts like this. But what I really find interesting in a base model is in the second row seating, which of course you get a lot more legroom back here than you do in the Tacoma, just because it's a passenger vehicle. There's climate controls for your passengers that ride back here, so that's pretty nice. And you can see there's vents up here. I love this. This is kind of like so old school, but I just love it. As we step in, turn the Land Cruiser on. See, first off, dual zone climate control, which is pretty awesome in a stock vehicle, but you can see because of these cloth seats, you do get seat heaters, but you do not get cold seats like you do in the Tacoma. Also, look at the size of this little touchscreen that you get. This is the standard 8-inch touchscreen. Now hopping in the Tacoma, which again, I don't have mine out here, and I really wish I did to compare it to this Land Cruiser, but we basically have the same exact thing. Turn it on for you guys. You see, there's a lot of differences already. First off, a giant 14-inch touchscreen, which was really nice on the trails for a lot of the camera views.
David right now, or near Dave up there, the top spotter. Continue to pull through, but pull through in between the two trees, not to the left-hand side. Pull between those two big trees. All right, and then first truck, you're up, and we'll wait till you clear the obstacle before the next person proceeds. So Tacoma, come on up.
Thank you.
Hold that line. We'll take you up the hill from here.
Good spotting. Thank you so much.
That feel good?
Yeah,
All right.
butter. Obviously I had a spotter there, but it's just so much nicer to have cameras at your disposal. Again, not something good to be reliant on, but nice as a tool. Still was relying on the spotter first though. You might be surprised, but the 1958 base model Land Cruiser actually does not have a front camera. Do you think the cameras really provide like a visual aid to someone like yourself? Because for someone like me, I'd be like, ooh, I'm like driving my
$55,000 Land Cruiser on a trailer. Like, I don't even have a front camera.
Yeah, I think we always tend to gravitate towards using the tools to our advantage. So it's one of those, like, if you never had it, you don't know what you're missing. But when you do have it, you're like, oh my gosh, I would really, really love to have that now. To answer your question, I think the general public who wants to wield this from time to time should get the camera package.
Yeah.
Me specifically, like, usually it's the wife driving, and if there's an obstacle, I'm filming and spotting. Right?
That's right.
You know, like Kurt was showing his hand motions of how, you know, hey, if I'm spotting you today, this is what I do. And literally, my hand motions are head nods, and my wife's like, learn to read my eyes and my head nods and stuff. So we're able to avoid a lot of those obstacles naturally just from what we do.
Right.
But when I'm solo in this thing and, you know, don't have another set of eyes, even just in the passenger seat,
The more tools, the better.
Yeah, because sometimes you get into situations, especially like yesterday, when we were in those hard switchbacks, you know, getting out to look at what was ahead was sketchy too, because, you know, you're on a steep incline, and sometimes you can't even get your door open if it's, you know, buried into the side of a hill.
Right.
So having a set of eyes already out there is, it's a no-brainer, honestly, for doing what we do.
I agree. Like, if you were to get like a 1958 without, it's even like a section like this where there's like, there's no big rocks, but I just want to know like where my tires are going. Like, see, I ran over that little, like, hit the front skid.
Yep.
I don't know with all this technology and these new screens, like how you would integrate a front camera, or if it's even possible. If you don't get one option from the factory. Big screen definitely helps out, like when you're coming up above a crest.
But even in just an everyday context, having a front camera plus side cameras, which the Tacoma comes with to make a nice bird's eye view, is nice for parking and things like that. Okay, that's enough beating a dead horse. Let's get back to the Tacoma and take a look at the seat differences again.
Now here's a perfect example of why it might be nice to have soft tech seats, which are kind of like faux leather, but a lot of people say they're more durable, they feel better, they're a little bit softer. Some people like real leather better, but Softex is really what Toyota has been doing. But anyways, if you spray mud, it looks like someone went through a giant mud puddle in this truck. It's probably going to be easier to clean. I don't know, actually, maybe because of all these little perforations in the seat. That is the one downside to having them. But the reason they're there is because this truck comes optioned with not just heated seats like we saw in the 1958, but also cooled seats.
And then there's my favorite button in the truck, not found in the 1958 Land Cruiser, a front stabilizer bar disconnect, which maximizes your articulation off-road. Okay, I want to say a front camera, non-cloth seats, and a stabilizer bar disconnect are all things you can actually find in the upper grade of the new Land Cruiser. You're just paying more for them than you are with the Tacoma. But not to discredit the off-road capabilities of the base model Land Cruiser, of course, it's still a full-time four-wheel drive with a center locking differential and crawl control, and of course, a lot of fun to be had.
Good job, Chloe. We got to do a different line with you than the Tacomas, but you're good. Right here. Keep coming. Driver's tire's going to start coming up. Nice and slow. Yep. Now we can start going hard driver, hard driver. Right about there, hold up. Let me get eyes on the rear. Okay, straighten them out. Nice and slow, we're going to crawl that. You're going to feel the rear come up and then come off the rock. Come a little bit more driver. There you go. Now you can straighten them out. Yep. We'll get you around that tree and you are good to go.
Thank you so much.
You're down.
Woo! Now, thinking about price relative to features that you get is always a great place to start, but just looking at the spec sheets never paint the full picture. There are many more nuanced differences between the two vehicles that you'd only really know after experiencing each. This was something that my driving partner Kevin and I realized off the bat.
So now that we're in a Tacoma coming from a Land Cruiser first edition, and we're in a Tacoma Trail Hunter, I immediately have some thoughts about differences, even though we've rolled about, I don't know, 20 feet.
Yeah.
Obviously seating, like I had to move my seat super high to see over the hood, even though I'm not the driver.
Yeah, it has a lot of play. And when I got in, I felt like I hopped into a Camaro because it's like, how low do you want to go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe they make this for really tall people.
I guess so, because that's always been my struggle. Oh great, now I'm locked up. That's always been my struggle on the Tacomas is with long legs. Long trips just give me leg fatigue.
Yeah.
But honestly, this seat sits much higher. I think it's going to be a better deal for me in the long run.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is the windows, like the side windows that we're looking at them, are smaller, it feels like, because they're not as like boxy and big. I think all the Land Cruisers come with those Tokiko shocks, like no matter what grade you get.
Okay.
But Tacoma has a lot more options.
Yeah, it's definitely got a better response to these quick hits. Whereas we're really jouncing around the Land Cruiser there.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking, it wasn't bad.
That and probably our tires too. We're on, an all-terrain.
Good, hold up. Just
Help out.
Kurt's gonna hop out, make sure everybody makes it around this pointy rock, okay?
Watch out for the pointy rocks.
Don't hit the pointy rock.
We did in fact try to be cautious about pointy rocks, partially for the sake of the stock Land Cruisers all having street tires and the Tacomas having trail terrains. Alright, let's get into the next reason I chose the Tacoma, and I already know some of you might disagree with me here, but hear me out. I actually don't feel like I'm missing out, and in some ways, I even prefer the more modest powertrain in this particular Tacoma. The Tacoma I ended up buying, like the blue one here, is the gas model I-Force, a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, whereas the 1958 Land Cruiser has the I-Force Max, a 2.4 liter turboed 4-cylinder hybrid engine, which does put out more power, but notably a lot of torque. You can get a Tacoma with the hybrid I-Force Max as well, but that bumps up the price, which is why I'll be sticking with talking about just the gas model. Now, the numbers suggest a big difference, but I was curious to see how they would be reflected in the real world when I sat in the driver's seat of both of these vehicles. Could I feel that extra oomph in the Land Cruiser? Short answer, yes, but pretty marginally on the road. There are always a ton of variables when comparing something like this, but when it came to climbing in the mountains of Colorado, both the I-Force Tacoma and the I-Force Max Land Cruiser felt solid. I guess if I had to pick, the Land Cruiser was slightly more preferable, but I didn't feel like I was really missing out by going with the gas Tacoma, especially in off-road scenarios where that extra torque just wasn't super necessary in our conditions.
So you obviously drove us in the Land Cruiser First Edition that also has an I-Force Max. Thoughts on that versus just the I-Force gas model, since you also drove the blue Tacoma? Like, do you notice really that power increase? And I know we're in the mountains of Colorado, but
these are the first hybrid of this footprint that I've been in, and the thing that stood out to me the most is just the jump off the line. I mean, it's just got some snap that I wasn't expecting, especially on a turboed engine where you've got a moment of spoiling that takes place. So having that hybrid system in there to kind of get ahead of that and get you moving, and then let the turbo kick in, it's ingenious. I mean, it's a really smart way of letting those systems work together. And that's the hot button topic, right? Is these new engines and these new turbos, and what's the long-term reliability going to look like? And now that we've integrated that with hybrid systems, but the thing is these are all components that have been tested over and over and over again. It's just now going into this production where we're going to get them out into the real world and see how these things play together. And my first test has been surprising. I was skeptical, to be honest with you, but the feel and the control and like I'd use the word like precision. You give it X amount of gas, it's there for you.
There is no denying that I-Force Max performs really well, as Kevin kind of described too. And it also provides better gas mileage, which is great considering the pretty limiting 17 to 18-ish gallon gas tank capacity in both, so you're taking fewer trips to the gas station. But the argument I'm making here is that the Tacoma's performance was good enough to keep me from jumping to the similarly priced Land Cruiser just on the engine option alone. Sure, I'd like to upgrade to the hybrid at some point, but there are other things to consider, like space that the battery takes up, which is for another video. Okay, my final reason for picking the Tacoma, I think there just are going to be far more available accessories for it, both made by Toyota and the aftermarket community itself. This is just due to the fact that the sheer volume of Tacomas produced beats out the Land Cruiser, and as somebody who likes to accessorize their vehicle, especially with off-road accessories like skid plates and armor, more options are important to me. Like, we found out on the trip that Toyota makes a compressor and pump-up kit for the Tacoma and actually use it to air back up.
That looks like that pump-up kit.
This is feeling promising.
It's brand new too. Break it in. There we go, compressor kit.
All right.
Oh. Fancy. All right, Adam, show us how we engage everything. Ooh, it's brand new.
Brand new.
That's cool. Is that kind of standard on the trail or that's
Standard, I think.
This was on the Trail Hunter Tacoma, and I'm not sure if you can fit this exact compressor on my TRD Off-Road, but my point is, it's a plethora of stuff like this that you find across Tacoma, more so than Land Cruiser. So for all the reasons I've shared in this video, I'm siding a little bit more with the Tacoma on this one at this price point, but that doesn't make me look at the Land Cruiser in a worse light by any means. This video certainly isn't a cry for the Land Cruiser to change. In fact, I myself still dream of owning one in the future. These are just my own opinions, and this comparison might even be a little bit odd or maybe unrelatable since most people aren't going to look at Land Cruiser versus Tacoma like me, since when you're buying a vehicle, I think what people generally do first is pick whether they're going to go with a truck or SUV, and then they narrow down their choice from there. I'm just basically trying to answer the question of why I went with an upgraded Tacoma over a similarly priced Land Cruiser base trim, and now you know.
So with these two vehicles, at the end of the day, yes, one is a truck, one is an SUV. I did consider both options, but what it really came down to was, did I want something that was more fully featured out, something that was less of a base model, or did I want the iForce Max? And this is not to say that I think the iForce Max isn't worth it for a lot of people out there. You know, I think it does perform as advertised on the road. I do feel like it's got more torque, it's got more power, but the difference isn't night and day. It isn't like this grossly huge difference. And I really just, you know, after having my 2019 Tacoma and missing out on the premium package options and a lot of the front cameras and tech, knew what I wanted, and so to me, those extra couple $1,000s are better spent on more features.
I want to thank Toyota for allowing me to drive all of these vehicles in honestly one of the most beautiful places of our country, and my driving partner Kevin, who is a blast to hang out with. I actually have hours of Kevin and I just chatting about all things off-roading and overlanding and Toyotas, so if you guys want to see more, definitely leave a comment down below to let me know. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Check out my Instagram, link down below for even more content, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.